Hey, Jay.
Hey, Natalie.
Today is such a special day. Do you know why?
Well, I give up. Why?
You know what's better than having one guest?
Two?
No, three.
Oh my gosh, is the screen big enough?
I don't know, but I hope everybody who's listening goes over to the YouTube channel and watches because now you've got a whole lot of sisters
True.
on who are confessing today. And it's like the J family. I mean, honestly, Jay, they fit right in with you.
They do.
We have Jen, Jesse, and Jamie, who are all sisters, and they happen to all be caregivers. And so I am so excited for you to get to introduce them. But just for our listeners, I met Jen, who is the oldest sister, on the plane from Chicago to LA. Because if you follow me on Facebook, I love getting to meet everybody and I force them to be my bestie. You're right, Jesse. I know that aligns with you. She's the middle sister. And so I didn't even give Jen an opportunity not to talk to me. It was fantastic. And so I told her my whole story like a good Tennessean. And we became besties. And I said, you must come on the podcast. And she said, yes.
She said yes for all her sisters.
And all her sisters, which made it better.
Look
like they
them.
had no free will. It was great.
I agreed for all of it. As soon as I landed, I said, hey, so we're doing a podcast. Just hope you're okay with it.
Hey, and the girls are all like, if they're anything like Emily and I, we're all like, well, okay, that sounds good. Well, if you want, that sounds great. So Jay, tell us about Jen, Jesse, and Jamie, these dynamic sisters in care.
So, and I know if we call them by the wrong name at any point, they'll still answer. So it's okay because we're totally used to that. So we have three wonderful sisters here. They are from Northwest Indiana. They grew up super active. We've got basketball, volleyball, and softball. They sound like us, kind of.
They do sound like us
in their past, but as adults, life took them in all different directions on the map. So we've got Jen. She's the oldest. She lives in Los Angeles, working in the fashion industry. We've got Jessie. Don't cheer, Natalie. She's the middle, and she lives in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, working as an executive assistant and traveling the world. And then we have Jamie. She's the youngest, who we refer to as the baby.
She's the baby.
I know. She lives in Chicago rather, and she works for a major airline. So caregiving for these ladies started for them at a very young age. Their brother Matthew, who they fondly call Buddy, was born with a severe case of hydrocephalus. They say growing up with Buddy has had a huge impact on all their lives and roles that they play as sisters. This is an amazing and beautiful story about family and about planning for a future as caregivers. And we are so happy to have all three of you guys here. We're going to try to keep that laughter to a minimum and we're going to try to keep Jesse and Natalie in check because as the middles, I mean, Jen, Jamie, and I, we're going to shut them down when they start talking. So thank you guys.
Learned you can't control us.
We've just given up at this point.
Exactly right. We've all given up. Look at sweet Jamie. She's like Emily. She's like, okay, I'm ready.
Okay, you guys. Yeah.
Jamie's such an assertive person, but with Jessie, it's funny. I'm like, what happened? Like, she'll just take a back seat. She's like, this is Jessie. If Jessie's here, it's Jessie's show.
Done. So guys, tell me about kind of where this started. I love when you said, our brother's name is Matt. We call him Matthew, but we call him Buddy. And I love that. But tell us a little bit about that and kind of how he was second, right, Jen? So you're first and then he came second. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was first and then Matt came a year later. We're literally 13 months apart. So we're very close in age. So none of us remember a time when it was just one of us, right? So I don't remember life before Matt existed. And then 3 years later, Jesse, and then 4 years later, Jamie. So it was definitely a full house. There was lots of us. It was a little crazy, but yeah, from the get-go, Matt had special needs. So he had different physical and intellectual disabilities. So it was something that we kind of dealt with from the get-go. When he was born, they didn't really know what his capabilities would be. So the first couple years of life, like I definitely remember like a lot of doctor's visits, and he had surgeries, and he also had a lot of physical therapy just to see like where they could get him to. And then by the time he was, like 4 or 5, they kind of realize, okay, this is probably for the most part what his limits are going to be and what life is going to look like.
That's interesting. And so I did ask Jen this question on the plane. I was like, what were your parents thinking? Like, there's a lot of J's here. What happened with Matt? Where did Matt come from? Like, I mean, I feel like what happened? We had a theme going on and they strayed off.
My mom claims that she didn't intentionally name us Jays. She just happened to like all the names that started with Jays.
Oh,
That's her claim.
Yeah.
There's
also so plain, like it's just Jesse, Jen, and Jamie. It's not like they're like great J names.
And now
sorry, Mom.
She blames us now. Like she calls me Jesse or Jen, and she's like, "Oh, it's too hard. They're too similar." I'm like, "You did this to yourself. That wasn't our choice."
At least your names are the same, because we got called by the dogs' names. I mean, Natalie, Emily, JJ, and we had Chelsea, Madison. Like you could be called any animal's name in our house, and we're all like, "Yeah, what's up?" Just I'm sure y'all are like all looking like natural looking at your mom.
Yeah.
So you guys. So then comes Jesse. And Jesse comes along, and then it's interesting because it's 4 years or 3 years. You said, Jen, you said it was 3 years after, then comes Jesse, and then 4 years after comes Jamie. And so when you think about your all's childhood, like we can go around to each one of you guys. What do you see? What was that like for you, both individually and then also supporting, your brother? Because it sounded like, Jen, when you talked to me about it, it was very much a family affair. Everybody was all hands on deck.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we all helped out, and it was just like very natural. And I feel like Jesse, out of all of us, like we have that caretaking gene. Jesse, it was very natural. I think I saw it more because I was the oldest. So by the time Jesse came, I was more aware. And like right out the gate, she was just like taking care of Matt and helping with him. And I feel like we see it a lot with kids in general. Like kids just have no fear, and they're just so curious, and they want to help take care of him, and they want to help feed him. So I feel like as a kid, sometimes maybe it comes more naturally as an adult. So I think for us being so young, it was just so natural to like chip in and help. And, it was like part of our chore list. Like our mom was like, okay, I got all these kids, you got to help, so it was just like, you got to help feed him and take care of him. And so we all kind of helped take care of each other.
Did anybody have like particular job responsibilities? Like I was in charge of socks and laundry. I sucked at doing dishes. Jason, my husband will tell you, I can't load a dishwasher.
I don't feel like we did. To be honest, when I came, I don't remember a lot of the young years, like Jen does, like the doctor's appointments and stuff. I don't remember a lot of that. I started my athletics at a young age. And my parents came to everything, and they always brought my brother. So that's like where I remember like starting at the softball field, and I'd want to feed him in between games, like making sure that he wasn't hot and like making sure the fan was on him. And like even at basketball games, remember like a basketball game would finish, and the first thing I would do is like go say hi to Buddy and kiss him on the head. And he was always part of what I was doing. And then at home at dinner, like, we would all have dinner, but we would make sure Matt was fed, and then we would all sit down at dinner. And after dinner, we would go check to see if he was done with his milk. And all of us kind of just rotated. We all knew what the routine was because we all had the same routine. And we all really pitched in. Like, even if he was taking a bath, we would walk by and we would always stop in and say, hey, buddy, can you splash for us? Can you clap for us? He was always just part of everything that we did. Christmas mornings, he was out on the couch with us. It wasn't like we ever left him in his room and never included him in anything. So I always remember him being there and always wanting him to be there and ensuring that he was okay.
Jamie, did you ever see him, because he was so integrated with your family, especially as you came, because you were the youngest? Did you ever say there's something different, or this is it, this is life, this is the way it is?
It was just the norm. And I think it was interesting being the youngest. To your point, Natalie, it was all very close. So my mom had 3 of us in diapers at the same time, like me, Jesse, and Matt. We're all in diapers at the same time. Wow. And I think for me, we were very natural at taking care of him, but I think it impacted me the most being the youngest I had to like grow up very quickly and be independent. Like my role, I think, was really taking care of myself so that like we could be focused on Matt and kind of taking that stress off of my parents. So I think I became very independent at a young age to kind of play my role of kind of taking that responsibility off of my parents so we could kind of focus more on Matt. And it was very natural. And I think I never even thought about it until I got older, but it was very much like, okay, I'm not the baby. I'm not the center of tension. I don't need to be taken care of the way that I think some young kids think of. It was more like, okay, I'm just here. I'm part of this family. I'm a sibling. I'm here to help. And I think like very quickly that kind of turned on from a young age.
Mm.
I think it's actually very interesting because like you and Jen both did it just on different spectrums, that you
Yes.
needed to be independent to help, whereas I was more like, I need help. I'm actually going to help with Matt because I still need help myself.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
an
that's
interesting dynamic.
No, it's true because I never really got to be like, usually the oldest I feel like is a little doted on for a while until like the next one comes, and it's like, but my mom got pregnant right away when I was a baby, and then she was pregnant with Matt, and she knew she was having this high risk pregnancy. So I think that too, even when I was a toddler, it's like, okay, you're out of the crib, you're in the big girl bed, like, it was definitely more like attention focused on Matt, or it just made us be a little bit more independent more quickly.
Well, you had to be. Like, isn't that interesting how like you really kind of had to be? And I could see, Jessie, where just thinking about like, okay, you got Matt and he's got needs, but you've got 4-year age difference or 3-year age difference between you guys. So he's 4 and you're, 1 kind of feel.
1.
And you're trying to figure out the world, and your mom's probably trying to do both. Jen, and I think that I'm assuming you also helped raise all of your siblings then, actually. Like you were tag teaming with your mom. Was it like a handoff kind of thing as you were in the beginning before the other siblings got, big enough?
I feel like I definitely helped. I mean, I was still pretty young. I mean, she had all of us within 5 years. So even by the time Jamie got there, I was only 5. So,
I thought there was like 3 years and then 4 years. So what are your all's ages? Okay, let's narrow this down a little bit. Sorry, I'm asking your ages. I'm 40.
So it's okay. You're young.
No,
you're young.
young. You guys are way younger.
Hey, give it to us.
I'm 35 and Matt's 34.
Okay.
I'm 31.
And I'm 30.
Oh.
God,
Okay.
your mom hated herself.
Huh?
I think your dad hated your mom worse.
Your dad, we don't even mention your dad. He's like, I just am here. I just am tired.
It's like, I'm the donor. I showed up. And so
I ask my mom all the time, I'm like, why did you have 2 more kids after like someone with disability? She's like, we wanted 7. And, because of Matt, we settled on 4. I'm like, that's still very aggressive.
like, what was the, okay, so
That's where
what
I
was
get it from though.
Yeah, right. What was the number 7 about? Well, I mean, it's bigger than a basketball team. And normally you pick up a 6th. Okay. So you need +1 for basketball. So those of you who play sports, Jessie's laughing because she knows it's true. You're like,
well, people ask me now how many you want. I'm like 19. And they're like, why 19? I'm like, I just don't know. I want 19.
You could have
Jessie, I've got some
baseball
bad. Have you started, Jessie? Because I'm just saying, I was like, I didn't see that in your bio, any kids. So
no,
I mean, I'm 50, so you're going to have to really step up to get that 19, or you're going to have to like have your sisters contribute. I don't know.
No, I know. And I started it like, I mean, growing up, I was like, oh, at 22, I'm going to be married and already start having kids. And now here I am at 31. And I was like, yeah, I still want 19, but I just haven't started yet.
Oh, man.
Foster kids. That is the answer there.
If you mix and mingle, I think you could totally get it. I think you'd get 19 kids. I'm not.
Also, that's partly why Jessie's a nanny. She's been a nanny for a long time. She's moved on to a different role, but she has basically kids. All of our nieces and nephews, anyone she's nannied, like she keeps in touch with every single kid throughout there. So she already has like kind of a.
I would count those, Jessie. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. Like you've not done it. Like
no, absolutely. And I know that. For example, yesterday was Saturday, and I went and spent 6 hours with 2 little kids I used to nanny for. They're now 6 and 9. But they needed a day. She FaceTimed me. She's 9, and she FaceTimed me, and she's like, I need you to come see me.
Absolutely.
So what I do.
Absolutely.
So you ladies were super active in high school, though. This is the part that's interesting. So you're all like stair step to like the nth degree. Okay. And now it makes more sense about being able to help with each other and everything. Cause you're right, Jen, you're like, I'm 5. I can only do so much, but trust me, I work in the mental health field and there's a lot of 5-year-olds raising some children, sadly. But you guys, your parents, it sounded like they tried to not limit you ladies because of your brother's different abilities. So what was that like? Like, what were your all's big things? if you all want to talk about that, I'll go in birth order. Wait, I'll go backwards. Jamie.
Go backwards. Yeah, start with Jamie.
She's the baby.
I think to Jesse's point, it's like Matt was always there. So for sports, I mean, my parents loved it every other year. Jesse and I were in the same age bracket, like 10 and under, 12 and under for softball. They loved the years that Jesse and I were actually just on the same team.
Yeah.
But they always made an effort to bring Matt out to things. And it's interesting to see him like in high school, like in his class, like him compared to other people with disabilities. Like my parents always got so many compliments of how they didn't let that hold them back, or like he was always out to things. They never said like, oh, we need to shelter him or leave him at home. It's like he was always front and center. They would just bring him to things. Like he was just always there. And I think we were lucky with that, because not everyone with disabilities kind of has that level of an ability of caregivers, of being able to, you know, take him in the van and take him everywhere and physically move him all the places we need to. But my parents just didn't really let them hold it back. So it was just very normal for us. He was always there.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say too that, looking back now, I could say, yeah, we didn't travel. Obviously, he was difficult for him to go on a plane. We went to Florida maybe once. We would drive to Michigan where we had like a family little cabin.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really go out to dinners. We would really go once a year on our birthdays, and it was always almost Olive Garden, because that was a very easy restaurant for us to get Matt in and out. So like looking back now, I see those things. But growing up, we just always knew we had family dinners at the dinner table. We always knew that we just travel wasn't a big thing for us. Obviously now it is for all three of us. It's one of our main aspects of life, and we enjoy it. But yeah, my big thing obviously was sports. I was very active. My parents came to almost every single game. My brother was always there.
Wow.
All of my friends within all of my athletic clubs knew my brother. They would also walk by and say, hey, buddy, Matt would be in the car at a softball tournament, and some of the other little kids or siblings would sit in the van with him and watch the movie that he was watching. So he was always inclusive. And I don't think we ever were, growing up thinking that we were missing out on anything.
Hey, Jen, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think it was just so natural. And maybe part of it was like our parents didn't really make it a thing, and they weren't like negative about it or anything. They're just like, okay, like you guys want to play sports. This is what you want to do. We're going to take Matt with. And we also come from like a really small town. So in terms of like, I know like representation and like awareness, like disability awareness is super important to all of us. And I feel like that's a good example of it. Cause yeah, a lot of people like, they would just be like, oh, we have to leave them at home, or it's too difficult, or they kind of don't want to deal with it. Whereas like it became very natural for also just like our community to like see Matt out and about, and like everyone knew him and everyone knew his abilities and everyone kind of knew what he needed. And like, so I feel like it just made things a lot easier. And we also just got lucky too. Like he ended up really liking the sound of like sports. Like he loved the sound of the buzzer and
loves the whistle.
He loves the whistle. So I think we just got lucky that he kind of enjoyed it. So, yeah, that helps.
Oh, I love that.
So it's interesting to me that because of your family's acceptance, I guess because we know that the public, children, even adults, it's very hard for a lot of people to accept differing abilities when they're out in public. But because of your all's acceptance, how as children and even as teenagers, were there uncomfortable situations when you were out with Buddy and you feel like that helped you both grow, but also helped you educate other people? Were you comfortable saying, hey, this is my brother, don't be uncomfortable, I guess, to other people?
Yeah, I feel like we definitely tried to normalize it. I think it was interesting to Jesse's point of when we were kids at sporting events, all of our friends knew Buddy, and it was just very natural. But I definitely saw a difference when we went to high school, and you'd have kind of like Matt's helper, like wheeling him through the hallway, and I would stop by like, oh, hi, Buddy, and try to say something. And they would be like, no, like stay away. Or they thought they interpreted it the wrong way of like, they didn't realize that was my brother. And they sometimes assume like, oh, they're going to make fun of him, or they're here to, they're teenagers, they're being mean. I'm like, no, that's my brother. Like, I'm just saying hi to my brother. So there's definitely a change where in high school, where I feel like they tried to more so kind of keep him separate. Like there's just, especially I think in our generation of, this is the disabled crew, like they tried to like shelter them and protect them from any kind of bullying or things like that. But I'm like, this is my brother, this is normal. Like we just want to say hi to him. There was definitely a change, I think, when we got to high school.
I remember too, though, in high school, because they had these clubs where kids would come read to the class that Matt was in. And I would have random teachers and random other students in school stop me and be like, oh my God, I got to read your brother today. He was so sweet. You know, he held my hand when I read it. So I do feel like we also bonded through Matt, just with some of his experiences with other people.
Buddy was everyone's favorite in that class when they would read to him. People would come to me with stories. They tried to read him Twilight once, and he like was not having it. He was like complaining the whole time. I'm like, yep, good job, buddy. Like, that's not the book he wants to be read.
He will always tell you what he wants.
Yes.
He does have
very assertive. He's like all of us. He's very assertive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, ladies, I need to interrupt for just a second to share about the sisterhood membership. It's basically a sale every day. And the best part, it's free. Here's the details. We're partnering with our friends at Benefit Hub and other care partners to save you money. With over 200,000 participating companies across the US and abroad, you'll find discounts at your favorite local stores, huge savings on vacations, amazing deals on home, auto, and supplemental insurances, and everything in between. Go to confessionsofareluctantcaregiver.com to sign up, and then definitely tell your friends about it. They can join too. Trust me, there's a discount for everyone. And don't forget, it's free. Okay, back to confessing.
So what do you think, I hear the family, that influence for all of you. What do you think? Because I know there are our caregiving experiences and what they've done to us as sisters. What has it done for your all's bond? I'll start with Jen.
Yeah.
She's kind of quiet.
She's quiet as the oldest.
I know.
No, I
She's
think
the pensive sister.
I just won't let her get a word in.
Yeah, just trying to let them. We usually when we're together, we all talk over each other. So now that we're being recorded, we're trying
that's
to
okay. We don't care.
Yeah, we talk over one another too. It's okay.
Fine. We don't care.
I think it's definitely made us closer, and also I know, and everyone says this. They're like, "Oh, after Matt, your parents had 2 more kids. That's so much." I'm so lucky and grateful that they did have 2 more kids, because I think if it was just me taking care of Matt and then eventually taking care of my parents, that's so much that I feel so lucky that I have 2 other people to kind of, bounce ideas off of and, have that support system. So I feel like it's definitely bonded us even more, because it's from a very early age, even when we were younger, we're okay, we know this is going to be our responsibility long term. So we started having those discussions very early on. So it's you need these people regardless of what happens and regardless of what fights you have. It's you need to all be on the same team. So
yeah, and I think to that point too, obviously we all have very different personalities. I'm this sensitive, very sensitive one. So if it was just me deciding where Matthew was going to stay, it would be in my apartment. I would make it work. I would, work from home. I'm very blessed with Jamie and Jen because they're the logical ones. Let's really research this. Let's do pros and cons. And I think overall, it honestly did bring us together, especially for Jamie and I, because once we got to high school, Jen had already moved on to college, but it was Matt, Jamie, and I in the house, and Jamie and I were in high school. So we did play volleyball together. And again, Matt was there all the time, and it was just, our dynamic was really good at the house. But it did, I feel like it definitely brought us together.
I'm interested in, because this is important. I remember what it was like when Jay left the house to go to college, because with me and Emily, JJ was a senior, I was a freshman. We're all 2 years apart, but it's just the way our birthdays hit. And so JJ graduated, I went up to my sophomore. Emily and I are only 2 years apart. We're truly 2 years apart, and we hung out. We were super tight, thick as thieves kind of thing. But JJ was also always in charge. And so, because my mom was exhausted, apparently. And honestly, 3 girls, my mom didn't have what
Dad gave up.
Yeah, my dad, even the dogs were girls. And so in our house. And so what was it like for Jen, for you to leave to go to college? What was that like, being away from the family? Because I don't know how far you went away to college, if you just moved to another country to find yourself. I'm going to find my identity. So what was that like?
I moved to Chicago, so it was only an hour away, but it was a totally different world from where we grew up. And I very much wanted to leave, not to necessarily leave my family, but our town was just so small. I'm I want to travel, and I want to do things, and I want to be independent. So yeah, that was definitely my mindset. I think Jessie was psyched. She took my room the day I left. She couldn't wait for me to leave. I had the big, nice room. She couldn't wait.
By the way, every time she
point
got
out,
grounded, I was offered that room and I never took it. I was always very nice. I'm like, she can keep
Hashtag
it.
team
I
player.
never got grounded. I don't know
That
what
was
Jamie.
Oh,
I
look
don't
at
know
you,
what
the
you're
second
talking
coming. That's good.
Oh.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a middle child. That
about.
honestly,
Right, Natalie?
JJ was
Oh.
blaming me for everything.
Mhm, it's true.
Got my
But
tail whipped.
Jen, do you feel like that was the first, what was the feeling there? Because it's not to say you lost responsibility of some of those day in, day out tasks, but how did you feel? Like, okay, maybe I've moved out of my caregiving role. I know you're long distance, but how did you feel when you stepped out from that and we're an hour away?
That's so interesting. I don't know if I've really ever fully reflected on that, but I think it was definitely more like me focusing on me for sure.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, because we've always been caretaking not just Matt, but other people too. Like, we've always been babysitting when we've had little cousins and, and just helping out with all the siblings. So I feel like definitely it felt a little bit like I could really just focus on myself and just like, especially at that age, just figure out even who you are and what you want to do and what you want to spend your time on and your attention. And I feel like for a while I barely did come home. Like I really wanted to stay in the city and I really wanted to do my own thing. So I feel like it definitely was just like a really just focusing on me and being super independent and doing my own thing for a while. Like I missed a lot of them being in high school. And I think that's why they say that, like they really bonded. That was formative years for them. And like, I would come back for certain things, but for the most part, I was kind of doing my own thing during that time.
I think too, it's important because our mom was always home. She obviously worked, but she always worked from home because she, Matt did go to school, but she had to be there to get him on and off the bus. And then immediately when we would get home from school, we would be going to practice or games, so it was nonstop. She always did majority of the caregiving and stuff. But to Jen's point, it also disadvantaged us to the point where they didn't focus on, okay, if Jessie's really excelling in volleyball, where can she go play in college? We never went like there wasn't additional outlets for us. It was like very contained, very ritual, like every day was the same in and out. So I think with Jen, like she said, when she was leaving and she was focusing on herself, it was because, at home, it was, my mom did majority of the caretaking along with us, but there was no additional benefits for us.
No, that makes sense. Jamie, any thoughts to add on to that?
No, I agree. I think we were so in that, I don't want to say bubble, but that was like very much what we were living. And I think when we all graduated high school, it was a very interesting experience for us because like our parents didn't really talk to us about college or where we go or what we want. And it was the first time in our life we could really focus on ourselves. And I think it was like kind of a shocking moment of like, oh, what do I want to do? Where do I want to live? What's the next step? Because we were just so in the rhythm as kids kind of with Matt and doing our thing that it was like, oh, there's something after this. What do we want to do? I know Jessie left. It was an interesting time for me when Jessie left because we're just one grade apart. She didn't last long. She came back very quickly. I think 6 months into it, she came back. But I remember those 6 months were super interesting. My mom was like, what do you want for dinner? We'll make what you want. Oh, you just stay in your room. I'll bring it to you. And I'm like, what is this? I've never had this in my life because I was the only kid in the house for like a 6 month span with Matt, obviously. But she just had more time and focus and attention. And I don't think we really focused on ourselves until, that 18, we hit that kind of 18-year mark to be like, oh, we can actually think about what we want.
Now, Jamie, how far away did you go? Just curious. When you left, how far away did you go? Where'd you go to college?
Not far. I went to Indiana University. So it's like 3 hours from where we grew up. And then immediately after that, I moved to Chicago. So in the general area.
So Jessie, 6 months, I was like, okay, you came back.
Well, I went to college for 6 months, just in Indianapolis. But throughout high school, I was a 3-sport athlete. So I became a babysitter in high school for one family with my dad's boss who had 2 little boys. So, after practice, after games, I spent my time with them. And then on weekends, the kids would even come stay with us at our house. I always was taking care of them. And that also integrated, like those little boys grew up with Matt. So even if I were going to the park or like the golf course, I would take the 2 boys plus Matt. Like I actually have the best photo of 3 kids I used to watch with my brother in the middle and me driving the van. I just enjoyed it. I took them all with me everywhere I went.
Wow.
But I was the first one to leave. So I went to college for 6 months and came back and I got a job offer in Florida when I was 19. And I'll never forget the moment. It took me like At that point, I was still babysitting the two boys I've always have. My cousin had a kid, and their neighbor, my cousin's neighbor, had 3 kids that I was watching, and my brother. So I already had at that point, a family of like 6, 7 kids. And it was the most difficult decision to decide to go to Florida and leave all of them behind.
Right. What were you feeling? Is there guilt there, or what are the emotions that go when you decide to leave?
Anybody have guilt about leaving?
Yeah.
Jessie, you can go first. Yeah.
I think it's guilt. I end up having dreams. I end up having that. Like, I want to be there. I always think of the worst case scenario. So I'm like, oh, but what if this? What if that? I'm all the way in Florida. What's going to happen if he has a seizure and I can't get to the hospital right away? Like, all those negative thoughts. And also the kids, all the kids I was nannying for. I was like, oh my God, they need me. Like, how am I going to leave them? They're only 6 and 8. And, the first family that I told when I was leaving, the kids were like, oh, I promise we'll be nice to you forever.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
we'll never be bad again. And I'm the sensitive one again. So it also just broke my heart. But I just made the decision randomly in a Walgreens parking lot. I said yes, and I ended up moving, and I enjoy it. But it was a very difficult time for me.
Oh, wow.
I think we've all tried to keep a balance between like feeling that pull that we need to be home and we need to help and we want to help, but also doing our own thing and having our own lives, which can be tricky. I mean, we all ended up moving away. Me and Jessie are very far away. But I know we all feel a little bit of guilt. It's always on our mind. It never leaves you. We all have dreams about my brother. I know that's something we all have in common.
That's interesting.
I'll still have dreams to this day, like nightmares where I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to feed him, or I forgot to give him his medicine, or, and then I like wake up and I feel like something bad is happening. And then I'll be like too far away to get there. So it's always in your subconscious, even if you're not thinking of it every day. I think we definitely all have a little bit of that still.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we hadn't really touched on that yet, but Matthew's prone to seizures. So he had seizure medication he would have to take twice a day. And from a very young age, we were the ones giving him that medication. So I and Jen and I both are prone to like having anxiety. So it's like I have those anxiety dreams of like, oh, I forgot to give Buddy his medicine, like, and just panicking on that. And I think it's an interesting time now where we all had kind of time to focus on ourselves. But now we're getting to the point where our parents can only take care of him for so much longer from a physical standpoint of like, my mom had called me somewhat recently of, she got Matt in the bathtub and couldn't physically get him out of the bathtub. So it's like now it's kind of a new chapter of we got to focus on ourselves. We felt a little bit of guilt and anxiety, but now it's like, okay, how are we going to long-term take care of Matt now that our parents are approaching the age where we're going to need to kind of step in more? And what does that look like?
So I go right into that because I think let's go right into that. Because I know how we sisters, because our first is the sisters, how do you guys we have conversations about our mom separately from our mom. And so how do you guys, have you all been actively having conversations? Was there a point was there like this, like, this is the point where you're like, we need to go ahead and start having conversations and with our parents? So do you have them independently? I know you all do like we do. We have side conversations. We have a total side text group and everything. And then JJ and Emily have their own. And then Emily and I have our own.
Yeah, it's sneaky conversations.
You're like, oh, get that one. So yeah, what's that like for you guys now as you're thinking about it? Because your parents are older and thank God there's 3 of you, because it took 3 of us for our mom. God knew that in advance. So Jen, check and check. God knew you needed 2 additional.
No, seriously. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I remember having the conversation pretty early on with our mom. So even in my early 20s, again, it's like, it's just always been top of mind. I'm like, this is something, and I'm the oldest and I'm a planner. And so I like to have a plan and I like to know what's coming, and conversations I've had, with people that I've dated and stuff too. It's like, hey, by the way, this is the full story, because that responsibility is going to fall to not only us, but who's ever in our life at the time too. It's going to impact, everything. But I had the conversation, I think, like in my early 20s with my mom, because I just really wanted to know like what her wishes were, like what she would want. Because you could do home care, you can, have him be in a full-time home. Also, where would you want him to be located? We also live in different states and in different places. Who do we want him to be close to? So it's kind of been an ongoing conversation. And then I feel like much more recently, we like seriously sat down with both of our parents and we're like, okay, what should we do? So we really haven't gotten to the point where we're like, okay, this is where we want him to be, but we're starting to do that research. And I know, Natalie, you know a lot more about that than we do. We're at the very beginning of just like, what even are our options? What are the benefits? Where can he be? He has such severe disabilities. Not every home will take him. So there's a lot of moving parts and still a lot of research that we need to do before we even settle on anything. But
you started the conversation.
But we started the conversation for sure. Yeah.
So you get in the room with your mom and dad, probably virtually. And, and what's the conversation like? Because at this point, you know, you almost wonder, does natural birth order, because natural birth order occurs with us, like JJ's always in charge. And I'm very much a type A like her. And we take turns on who's like takes the lead on certain things, but natural birth order follows play. And we all know exactly how it's going to be. So what's that conversation like? And are you on equal ground with your parents?
Jamie, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, I'll start. I think there's two things I wanted to say. One, I thought it was interesting when I first started having conversations with my mom, she was like, oh, it's not your responsibility. Like, me and dad will figure it out. Like, he's our son. And we're like, no, he's our brother. Like, clearly we've been thinking about this for a long time. But I think it's an ongoing debate of, I think Jessie, since she is the most kind of emotional caregiver, natural with Matt, has always kind of default been the one that my parents kind of lean on for that, of making those decisions, where Jen and I are in the background being the logical ones, like, no, like to Jessie's point, she would just have Matt live with her. If till she was 80 years old, she'd be trying to take care of Matt in her apartment the whole time. So I think my parents like kind of lean towards Jessie, where Jen and I try to like step in and be like, okay, we all want what's best for Matt at the end of the day. And every state has very different care. You know, we talk about, where do we want to end up? Where do we want to live? Because we want one of us to be in a state that has the best care for Matt. But yeah, Jessie, I'll let you talk now.
I think it's also very situational. Because I do think what she said, definitely like a few years ago when we had the first initial conversation, maybe it was like 2 or 3 years ago, I was like very upset with my sisters. I was like, what do you mean? He's not going to live far from me. He is going to be my me. I'm going to stop by with him every day. I still FaceTime my brother twice a week with my dad, because he lives with my dad full time. But recently, with some new medical stuff in our family, you know, I see things a different way. I don't think it's the best thing for me to make the decision, or for him necessarily to be by me, or even my dad. You know, he's seeing it differently because maybe he has to step in and help our family in a different way rather than being my brother's caretaker. So I feel like it's definitely situational and it's going to continuously change. But I feel like we are definitely coming up on a point where a decision is going to have to be made, and it's going to be some hard conversations between our family. Because like Jamie said, we all don't see eye to eye as to where, I mean, I think us 3 sisters right now, yes, we are all on the same page. It's more us versus our parents.
Yeah.
Do you guys have, as far as the planning goes, because I'm Jen, I have to have it has to be laid out.
All are big planners.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
I'm a color coordinator.
Oh, I love you. Highlight. Yeah. So, but as far as actual logistics of things, powers of attorney, look, oh my gosh. Jessie just showed her highlighters. Fantastic.
Natalie showed hers first.
Oh, that's it. Oh. Yeah, well,
I'm a recovering highlighter.
But do you guys, are those things already in place as far as financial planning, but also those legal documents? Are your parents ready? I don't want to say release that much control, but are they thinking forward? Because we have so many families that aren't thinking forward to that point. Have you all gotten to that point yet, where it's like, we do want other people to be able to do those medical powers of attorney, financial powers of attorney, things like that for your brother?
I know we've definitely reviewed it. My dad's the one that handles majority of that. And he actually 2 weeks ago had a meeting and was reviewing it again. And again, his job is consistently changing. Like he's probably going to move jobs again within the next year. So I know that's why he also wants to have another conversation in the next few months, but I do know it's in the works. I don't know where.
Yeah, and our dad has been leading the charge on that. And we did have a meeting probably 2 years ago at this point, I think, to review those documents and the order of attorney and all of that. And again, I don't think we were all aligned on it. It was kind of like the first stab at it, and it's going to be an ongoing discussion of how that works.
The fact that you're having the conversations, that is so ahead of so many other families, that you can actually just open that communication, because we see people that you get to that point and that communication has not been started. And then that's when the real arguments begin. And so you guys are so ahead on all of that. So.
Well, I think, we're all a little type A and planners. And I think too, like in the beginning, my mom was maybe a little resistant to having the conversation because she didn't want to think about it. But to us, it's like, okay, but eventually maybe our parents aren't going to be here. So it's going to fall to us no matter what. So we want to have these conversations now. So it's one of those things where it's like, we would rather get ahead of it and not put it off. But understandably, I think even for a parent, it's so much more emotional and so much more, even for siblings, I think we can remove ourselves a little bit and like look at things maybe more logically, where I think it's maybe harder sometimes for the parents to want to be open to having those conversations.
Yeah. So
I think we've realized how lucky we are. I mean, we're all like arguing over who's going to take care of Matt, and we're like trying to do it. Like we want to have it like that. And it's been amazing, like to have 2 parents and 3 siblings, like literally it's always been front and center for us. Like not everyone with disabilities has that kind of support system.
So I guess my question is, hold on, I'm making sure our time's okay. Because God, this is so good. Oh, we're at 40 minutes almost. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I have another question though. We've talked about Matt, but we haven't talked about like your parents are aging. And so have you all talked about the plan with your parents as they age and what they want? Because I know they're fairly independent and, because honestly, if something happens to them, then it's almost like it's almost like it triggers automatically of what's going to happen to Matt. But what happens if somebody like my husband got diagnosed with cancer. Nobody expects it. Like caregiving comes typically in a crisis. Like Jessie, I wouldn't count your caregiving in the same way because it's planned, it's intentional. It's like, I need childcare. Like when Jason was diagnosed with cancer last year, we were totally caught off guard and we did not we were lucky that we had the documents that we needed in place. JJ is always in charge, even of my own personal life. And Jason, she's in charge of Jason as well, FYI. And so because she's with it compared to his brothers, love you guys. But have you all had conversations about them?
So I think maybe we're in a very similar situation. I was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. And I completed 6 rounds of chemotherapy. And then we just found out about a month ago that my cancer's back. So I do feel as though maybe our outlook has shifted. My sisters and my parents, on top of taking care of my brother, are working on taking care of myself as well. And me being me of the caregiver, I am learning to accept it.
So you're a crappy Carrie. Is that what you're saying? My heart hurts.
I am always throwing all these things into the mix. I just like to keep life interesting.
Yeah. Jessie, I had known I didn't want to bring it up, but I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm gonna jump in.
It's crappy.
Here.
Don't say it's okay.
I get to jump in because
for thinking this is shitty. But
I did not.
I just did that.
I did not know this, and so I'm going to say this, that the whole story, because I know we're. So I'm going to have them back because here's my thing, Jessie, is that I hear that, and I also was diagnosed with cancer. I'm clear, but 2 years ago, and but the funny thing is, we laugh, I say, and we call me a closet cancer survivor because we didn't tell my mom, we did not discuss it, and so I've heard this beautiful story and about your brother and how you guys are planning, but then I listened to all 3 of you. And I listened to this journey, and it's like, oh, and by the way, Jessie's had cancer and she's back, but you guys are amazing. But then it's like you just are always putting someone else ahead of yourselves.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really, it's almost like you're a closet cancer person too. So wait,
Oh, I'll be fine.
Yeah,
I'll be fine.
It is. Well, so that's like where I feel like we are now is, my dad right now is the caregiver for my brother, but my dad also wants to be the caregiver for me. So he's like, where can I put Matt, during the day, or if I need to travel to you last minute for treatment or whatever it may be. And I'm like, no, he is your focus. And they're like, no, you both are our focus. So it's just,
wow,
we're in the mix of it. But I don't think, honestly, I hope this doesn't sound terrible, I don't think we've ever really discussed our parents' caretaking.
Yeah.
Not explicitly, no. I think we've all known that it's like on the table and it's one of those things we need to deal with, but I think we've had other pressing things to deal with. So we need to find somewhere for Matt first, and then Jesse stuff happened. So it's just like we're all trying to take care of each other all the time, but then also put our focus on what, you know, is the more immediate, which is right now, which is Jesse and Matt, because Matt, it is more pressing than it's ever been, that we need to find him somewhere probably to be permanently. And then Jesse stuff is obviously like very pressing too. So the parents will be next.
Yeah,
we'll take care of them.
Yeah, it's fine. They're resilient. They'll
They
just
take a back
You know what?
they're continuing on.
They both come from huge families. They have a lot of siblings too. So hopefully they have some help.
They're fine.
Pull it together.
Y'all are fine. Pull it together.
Just pull it together.
Give them some tough love, guys. Y'all will be fine.
That's the truth. Man, gosh, there's so much. There's like 1,000 things to unpack here, Jay. Like it's so much more. And definitely there's just so much more. I mean, there's like 1,000 other questions I want to ask, but you know, I think the one thing that I got a sense of in my conversation with Jen is how much you guys love each other. And I know that you guys probably have the same disagreements that me and my sisters do, that there are times when we don't like each other, but we still love each other, that we get on each other's nerves.
I think Jen and I can really attest to that one.
Oh my God.
And you know what? It's totally normal. It's totally normal. And I will say to you, as you ladies are making decisions for each other, for your brother, for whoever, when JJ and Emily came to me last August and said, hey, mom had been kicked out of an assisted living, and I say kicked out, she'd been asked to leave because they weren't able to meet her medical needs. 3 times.
Way nicer than kicked out. I thought maybe she got in a fight with somebody else.
Well, you know, yeah. And so that's my answer. And so when she left the last time, JJ and Emily were like, we think we should put Emily move in. So Emily, the baby. So that really would be, honestly, Jesse, I'll move in with mom and I'll take care of her. And JJ was like, well, so Jen, she sounded like you. And I'm sitting there like, that is a terrible idea. That is a bad idea. Like bad, because it's not going to go well. And here's the thing. The reason I said it is because I didn't want Emily to sacrifice her life that way, because we know how much my mom is. And that didn't make me a bad daughter, didn't make me a bad sister. It made me like, we were not necessarily put on this earth to have to care for someone else. We choose to. But how much do you do? And that's the hardest question. And everybody else will have an opinion. But in the end, I don't actually give a damn. I don't care, because we do what we as the sisters believe is the best interest of our mom. And our mom made it 7 months. And so that was 7 months she didn't have to. And so I know that you ladies are absolutely resilient and will make the right decisions for your brother, and will support Jessie like you've supported her in the past. You'll support.
I keep trying to tell Jessie, you got to care for yourself before you can be a caregiver. And that's what she always like skips past.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Okay, Jay. So, now we're at the best part. All right.
Okay. Ready.
Transition.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Sister questions. They're all super nervous. They're like, oh no, dumpster fire.
I sense some debates coming.
Okay. Mine is relatively easy. So I know you guys love to travel, and you do what we call sister vacays, or we do meetups. So I need to know everybody's favorite meetup, but somebody has got to tell me about this concert fascination that you guys have. It was mentioned in the write-up. So let's have it. Favorite meetup location.
Favorite meetup. We haven't done that many sister trips, to be honest. We need to do more, but we do try and meet up whenever we're like even traveling for work. Some of my favorites, I think, are like when you guys have met me when I'm in New York for work and we go see Broadway shows. So we always try to squeeze that in, which is really fun.
That's
also,
good.
We recently did London with all of us and our mom, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, nice.
I say we've always had a hard time finding time for all three of us to meet somewhere. We did in the past like 5 years, all of us were going to Capri, Italy within like 6 months at the same time. So that was really cool. And we actually have a plan in September to go to Lake Como together. I unfortunately probably won't be able to travel, but they're going to take a little photo of me and
Oh,
It's like
look,
a
it's Flat
family.
Jesse.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Flat
That's
Jessie.
what
You just like
we're doing
walk
a flat
around, you're like,
Jessie.
oh, there's Jessie. Like you have her on the shoulder and be like, oh,
Absolutely.
Jessie, look at what you're doing. Your hair.
Exactly.
Okay. Who's the
Absolutely.
biggest Hanson fan? What's the Hanson deal?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's we're gonna argue about that.
I've seen them the most times out of any of us. My first Hanson concert, I was 5 years
I
old.
was working. I had things to do.
I started it. I'm the
Excuses.
oldest, obviously. I started it. It was 1997. We went to our very first concert for all three
together.
of us was Hanson all together. We have a photo. We all have our hands. Yeah,
Natalie,
exactly.
they have more songs, you know.
Okay, sorry. I just
We
I
will
just-
defend Hanson till the end. Yeah, we've all seen them so many times, and now it's a thing that we always try and go when we can. But yeah, we love them. We're fans.
So you
of
don't
them.
see anyone but Hanson, basically. Like you're not. You ladies are not Swifties and not helping.
I am.
Oh,
out.
Jamie's a
Jamie
huge
is.
I'm a huge
Swiftie.
Swiftie.
I'm a
Huge
country
Swiftie.
person.
Okay. So we are going to say, Hanson, we need backstage tickets.
Yeah, we're gonna
for
need
these
some-
girls.
something
We call
special.
everybody out. We call everybody out.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, wait.
Okay, now-
Last question. Fast one, too. We got this is 2-minute ticker. What is your favorite guilty pleasure? Jen.
Oh my gosh, guilty pleasure. I don't like that because I don't think you should feel guilty about things. I don't think you should feel guilty about your pleasures, to be honest.
Good answer,
Boom.
Jen.
Good answer. No, okay, so that can be your answer. You're like, screw
Great.
it. I do whatever I want. Live my
Pretty
best
much.
life. Okay. Jamie, because I can tell Jesse's waiting.
Red wine. Lots of red wine.
Oh, I love it.
Jesse.
I
Jesse?
don't know.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to tell you, if you saw my LinkedIn post yesterday, my favorite guilty pleasure is watching Hallmark romance movies. It is the
Ooh.
cheesiest, worst. I even cried a little bit because it was attached to foster care. I'm like, son of a
Our mom
snot
loves that.
sandwich.
Did you see the cruise they're doing?
Hell yeah,
Hallmark?
I'm going on it. November 4th through the 9th, Norwegian Cruise Line. I'm on it. You
so
ladies should
embarrassed.
come.
Let's go. Sister trip.
Jen.
Done.
Sister
We're
trip.
done.
Done.
I know.
Done.
So
Okay,
embarrassing.
sister trip it is. Sister trip it is. Okay, we love you, sisters. We, you clearly have to be our sisters, and we.
Oh my God, our
want
family
you
is growing. We've got like 20 kids now, Jesse.
Oh,
I mean, there's so many of us. You
Kids
know?
of my own. We're gonna be
Oh.
real big.
guys, ladies, thank you so much for coming and sharing so much of your story with us, and we will keep you guys in our prayers for many, many reasons, because we know how hard it is, and the place that you guys are in. We know how hard that is, but just know, keep going. You got this. That's my answer. Keep going. You got this. And always remember, you love each other. You absolutely love each other.
We now actually tell each other we love each other.
Oh, I love that.
Good.
So guys,
Absolutely.
thanks so much for listening in. We will see you next time when we bring more folks to confess again. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.